Now ahead of match day 1, I asked you guys to send me your top drafts for the upcoming Club World Cup, and in today's video we're going to brutally rank them. Now before we dive into today's video, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as it is massively appreciated. And of course, if you do want to see more Club World Cup content on the channel, make sure you're liking and of course let me know in the comments section. We do have a mini league set up as well. As always, there is a link to auto join it in the description, or of course if you want to just type in the code, it is on screen right now. And of course, if you do want to get involved in future videos like this, I think potentially we might put one together next week, maybe as a live stream, just go through as many drafts as possible on there. Make sure you follow me at FPLTom_ for daily Club World Cup posts. And of course, like I said, if we do end up doing a live version of this next week where I run through your drafts, that will be the place to go and send them. So again, link to that in the description, or of course if you want to just type it out at FPLTom_ and you'll find me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days. Now we did have a lot sent in, but I've gone for ones where we're going to talk about different players in each, because obviously there is a little bit of a template, but what I've done is selected a few different teams with different strategies and different chips being active on the first week, and I've kind of wrote some notes down, so we're going to go through them. So let's start off with the first draft that we're going to review in today's one. So thank you for sending this one in to me. And there's obviously some interesting players in here. We obviously know the kind of the bulk of the players, so I'm not going to talk about the ones that I think are decent, to be honest. I think obviously, you know, you've got your triple buy in here. That makes complete sense if you've been following anything that I've said over on Twitter. Auckland's rank is absolutely disgusting in terms of the Opta kind of power football rankings. It places them amongst teams like Brackley, Braintree. Yeah, the fact that I'm saying Brackley and Braintree in a Club World Cup video kind of says where they're at as a kind of team. So you would imagine it is going to be a buy and demolish job. We've obviously spoke about Agawaha. I'm just going to call him A for the remainder of this video rather than butcher his pronunciations. But we spoke about him in the Hidden Gems. Big fan of him. Garassi, obviously, I think is going to be an outside shout for potentially the Golden Boot, given how easy that group looks. But let's talk about some of the players that maybe people aren't aware of. I really like Lucas Ribeiro as a pick for Sundowns from South Africa. 15 goals, 9 assists, and only 1% selected. So if he does do anything, he is going to be a really, really good hidden gem, because, of course, if he gets more than 4 points, he is going to be picking up 2 additional points on top of that. So really like him as a pick. Of course, the fixtures following that, a little bit more difficult. But, of course, as a 1 week punt, if you are looking to use your transfers, and I think you definitely could get away with just using the one transfer the following week with how strong the team is looking, then I definitely think he could be a really interesting pickup and a super differential that I've not seen in many drafts. So I wanted to obviously outline him as a good pick. Obviously, the double into defense, given how strong their group is. The 11-5 numbers have now dropped for this tournament. I have left a link in the description for you to go and check that out as well. We will be including it in future videos going forward as well. But the interdefensive numbers, looking across the whole of this group stage, are looking ridiculously strong, building on what they built in the Champions League and in Serie A this season. So again, I 100% understand why Dumfries and Sommer are your picks there. Obviously, Armani, we've spoke about with my team being the cheap goalkeeper, currently playing for River Plate as well at the moment, so I don't mind that as a pick. The only one that I did dislike was, of course, Jude Bellingham for me at 9.3 million, with not the easiest opening day fixture. I just don't really like him as a pick. I think he's a little bit pricey for me personally. I would rather have a Cole Palmer. I think Chelsea are probably going to walk that group. A lot more favourable fixtures. We can see that with the betting data and, of course, the 11-5 projected goal numbers as well. He's the key man for that side. Will get plenty of points for just creating the chances, because all the creativity comes through Cole Palmer. You get penalties, you get goals, everything else, and I think an easier match day 1 fixture as well. So he would probably be the selection I would drop Bellingham for. Same with Dembele as well. It's not the easiest fixture, and that is why I've currently avoided Dembele. He will be a player I will want to have for match days 2 and match days 3, but right now for match day 1, Atleti, I don't see goals, man. I really, really don't see goals, and I don't know what shape PSG are actually going to come into this tournament. Maybe a little bit hungover from obviously the Champions League final as well with that one. But overall, pretty solid draft. You can't really complain. There's some nice differentials in there. I think if you get rid of Bellingham, maybe swap him out for a Palmer or a cheaper midfielder and upgrade one of the forwards or defenders, I think this could be a really, really good start to the game for you if, of course, this is your team. Let's move on then to the second draft of today's video. This one has gone for the 12th man chip. This is the strategy that I'm going to be implementing as well. And they've also kind of taken my advice on that one. And I've probably been looking at the Twitter and gone for the quad buy-in route. Musiala, Elise, Kane, Upamecano, very, very strong, very nice. You do feel you've probably got the attack obviously pretty covered off there. Obviously, we spoke about Auckland in the last section, considering their ranks. The fact that they're 90 to 1 to even just go and win this game suggests how strong a favourite the bookies do believe that Bayern are going to be in that. Obviously, Musiala, we're going to have to wait and see close to the time. Missed the end of the season with an injury, but it is being reported that he's back within training and should hopefully be available for this tournament. Reyerson, I've obviously spoke about in my team. I like him at 4.9 million as a wing-back option. Pretty decent one. Obviously, some other pretty familiar names to most people as well already playing the game. But let's talk about some of the differentials on here as well. Gula could be a really interesting and cheap way to get into that Real Madrid midfield rather than, of course, going for Bellingham. So maybe if that other person from the first draft wanted to see a kind of other alternative options, Gula could be a great, fantastic, cheaper way to obviously, you know, spread some of those funds out within other areas of the squad. Finished the season with pretty decent minutes as well, playing a few 90 minutes towards the back end. 4 goals, 3 assists as well. And you do feel this could be a tournament where he starts to see more minutes and cements himself within the Real Madrid squad for next season. The only problem is he's currently sat at 6% owned. A little bit frustrating. If he was under 5, I'd definitely be a lot more kind of interested on him. Do a post-Champions League as well, looking like a really clever and smart pickup. I think he could do exceptionally well within this tournament as well. And then the final one is going to be Estalvo, who obviously is joining Chelsea once this tournament has concluded. The only thing I don't like about him is he's only got 3 assists so far in the Serie A for the Brazilian Serie A, should I say. And he just plays a little bit too wide for me, and I don't really like that as my forwards. Obviously, the forwards score points for getting shots off. This guy's not quite doing that. He's just, of course, playing a little bit wider, creating the chances. If he was down as a midfielder, it would be an absolutely viable pick. But I think at a forward, considering some of the quality we've got, I just don't think you can be wasting those picks, and you need to be going for the players that are going to be getting shots off, going to be getting goals, and I just don't quite think he hits that category for me. So this one, probably maybe just that forward position just needs a little bit of evaluation, and I think the rest could be good to go for match day 1. The next one, heading into draft number 3, there was a few issues I did have with this one. They've gone for the triple into Miami, which is a very interesting strategy. A lot of people unsure how they're actually going to do in this tournament. They've had a mixed start to their MLS campaign, but in recent weeks they've started to get themselves going again. Messi in the past 2 game weeks as well has been absolutely flying. Busquets, of course, would be a decent pickup with, of course, the ball recoveries being his way to points. I really like Jordi Alba. I've spoke about him in a few videos, the positions that he's been getting into, pretty much playing as a left winger rather than a left back this season, so I don't mind that as an option. However, with this one, there is a lot more fault than praise, to be honest. Obviously, the goalkeeper situation, Oblak is very expensive and it's not an ideal opening fixture for a goalkeeper. There's better goalkeepers at cheaper prices that have 3 overall better fixtures across the group stage. And Romero is currently out injured for Boca as well. I think it's Martian who's been playing at 4.1 million in the past few games. Again, we'll have to wait and see what kind of news we get and who travels to this tournament. If Romero's there, maybe, of course, he will be potentially back within the mix. But right now, at the time of recording, he is out injured, so I don't think I would have him anywhere near one of my other teams. A player that did pick up an injury, it looks like this week as well, is De La Cruz. The CDM for Flamengo has also picked up an injury against Botafogo, and it looks like he could be potentially out till mid-June. So obviously the tournament kicking off around mid-June, about 2 weeks, so maybe he gets himself fit and available for that one, but again, probably one to monitor. And then the final player I'm going to pick on is going to be Thiago Silva. It's just not an ideal fixture, is it? Dortmund in the opening game, I think Dortmund potentially could put some past them. They've already been pretty leaky at the back after a disappointing season last year as well. Again, I think for the price point he's coming in at, there are definitely better alternative defenders to be looking at, in my personal opinion. So I think this team definitely needs a lot of work doing to it. There's definitely some interesting aspects, the triple into Miami and the triple buy-in. But overall, I think there's a lot of picks in here that definitely need a little bit of a rethink. Okay, moving on to the fourth draft, and this one again has got some really interesting players within it. So obviously we're not going to waste our time talking about players we've already spoken about, but this one has the 12th man on Erling Haaland, a player I've not actually seen in too many people's drafts, and City players in general as well. I know Guardiola is quite a popular pick, and for very, very good reason. City are really, really fancied, especially across their opening two fixtures, to go and get a clean sheet from the bookmakers, and of course on the 11-5 model as well. But Haaland, City's projected goals across those opening two, like I said, if you're going to be playing the wild card maybe in game week 3, they could be a real team that a lot of people aren't looking at, especially Haaland as well. Could be a real big differential and could actually pick up some decent points across the way because they've got really easy fixtures. Obviously, I think a lot of people are getting obsessed with the Harry Kane Auckland City thing, which is very, very fair considering how poor they are as a side overall. But City could really do some damage in this tournament, and I think maybe we are underestimating them potentially there. Triple Dortmund as well. I think their group, if you're not planning on wildcarding across the group stage, is definitely one to be targeting. Fluminense is probably their hardest fixture, and last season they've managed to finish 13th within the Brazilian Serie A, so even those aren't one of the top Brazilian sides either. Obviously Pascal Gross, obviously, if you've watched any FPL Premier League football, you know he's a hub of creativity. Same again with Dortmund, so I really like him as a potential pickup there. And then Juve as well, another team we've not really spoken about too much. Of course, in the same group as Manchester City, those opening two fixtures against Al-Ain and Casablanca. Again, Juve are right up there. I think they've got a 60 and a 67% chance of a clean sheet within their opening two fixtures. So somebody like Cambiasso could be an absolutely wonderful differential pick. And again, I've not really seen too many people looking at the Juve defence. I think they're probably going a little bit under the radar. People have seen that they've got City in the group. But like I said, if you're planning on wildcarding in match day 3, I think of course you can get round that and pick up their pretty decent defenders for the opening two match days. Let's move on then to our final draft of today's video. Of course, another selection of alternative players, shall we say. And again, it is that strong inter defense. This one's gone for a triple up of inter defenders: Sommer, De Vrij, and of course Dumfries. Like I said, if you look at the 11-5 numbers, they are really strong across the board. It actually has Inter in second, I do believe. Let me quickly just check that I'm getting that one correctly. Inter actually in third with 1.52 projected clean sheets across the opening 3. Manchester City in second with 1.56, and Bayern Munich obviously top, but that Auckland City game is massively kind of holding those numbers up. So going into that, you know, the groups, you could feel very comfortable playing, of course, your 3 inter defenders across that one. Cole Palmer's in here, and again, like I said, we've not really seen him in too many drafts, and I think he could be a really good pickup considering how poor that group is looking in terms of overall quality. We saw what he could do against a pretty weak Betis side. I think he could definitely go off big in this tournament and could have a really good group stage. The other reason that I included this draft is purely down to the fact of Levi Colwill, and a big talking point for me is if I think I see a team that has decent potential of clean sheets, maybe I can't afford one of their premium defenders, I think I'm going to be looking towards the defenders that are lower than 5% owned, because of course if they score more than 4 points, they get that additional 2 points. I've actually got myself Kelly from Juventus for this reason, because basically if that team manages to keep a clean sheet, you're just going to pick up 2 additional points for doing absolutely nothing. That player just playing and getting that clean sheet is going to be enough for those just 2 additional points. So I think that could be a potential little bit of a hidden cheat code maybe, if of course you are in the market for those defenders between the 4.1 probably all the way up to the 4.9 million, rather than maybe going for that one that, you know, is the bigger name. Maybe look who else plays within that back line, maybe see what player, you know, features regularly, somebody like a Colwell, and comes in at that 3%, where you're going to get those 2 additional bonus points just for him playing. All those little margins eventually add up over the course of this tournament. So maybe you want to monitor going forward in this, and maybe you want to potentially think about with your drafts as well. Of course, if you want to see more CWC or Club World Cup content, make sure you are liking and subscribing. Like I said, follow me on Twitter as well. If this video does well, we'll obviously do a live stream next week, live reviewing everybody's kind of drafts that are sent in on there as well. So again, if that's something you are looking forward to, get that in the comments. But thank you for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck in match day 1.